The following episode contains info hazards, including detailed instructions on how to build anti-gravity craft.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Because eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's just too nuts. It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. I look for the invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, possible human immortality, and at the same time, appalling acts of brutality, genocide, race-baiting, homophobia, famine, starvation, because the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed. The good news is that as primates, we're incredibly adaptable to change. Put us in a desert, we survive. Put us in the jungle, we survive. Under Hitler, we survive. We can put up with about anything, and it's a good thing because we're going to be tested to the limits. What they see going on is the breakdown of all tradition, all order, all sanctioned norms of behavior. And they're quite right that it's happening, but they're quite wrong to conclude that it should be resisted or is somehow evil. The mushroom said to me once, it said, this is what it's like when a species prepares to depart for the stars. You don't depart for the stars under calm and orderly conditions. It's a fire in a madhouse. This is what it's like when a species prepares to move on to the next dimension. The entire destiny of all life on the planet is tied up in this. We happen to be the point species on a transformation that will affect every living organism on this planet at its conclusion.
Thank you for listening to the Secret Society of Stuff with Robin and Chad.
Check.
Members of the Society of Stuff, the dress code is Connecticut casual, and I've been getting reports that people are not dressed in Connecticut casual. Even though this is an audio interview, we do like to stick with tradition. So if you could just please change into Connecticut casual. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Oh, okay. How do you know what they're wearing? I managed to survive and do odd jobs and electrical wiring and, various things like that. I even worked on a sheep farm up north of Perth for a while. And that was an experience. I got to tell you, I certainly appreciate farmers and ranchers a lot more now. But yeah, that's why I was there. And I was stuck there on purpose. I managed to stay alive and to continue to figure out ways to share this information with people. And it was only by accident that I ever even went to Channel 9 and participated in the UFO documentary.
This scientist believes that man holds the secret of anti-gravity and can produce flying saucers at will. We interviewed him at a private house in Perth.
I suppose I started studying the physics that led me to this point, 62 to 64, at the United States Air Force Academy as a cadet in a special government program outside NORAD in the Colorado Mountains. And I was trained there with 180 some odd other characters to do research in areas of electrogravitics. We were programmed with libraries of information by slides flashed up on a wall at the rate of 200 pages a second. We couldn't even read them, but they were being implanted in our minds subliminally. It was a very classified project, and for the most part of it, while we were being programmed, we weren't aware of what was going on. I mean, we had normal classes in physics and calculus and this sort of things, but this stuff was being programmed in so that we had to assimilate it or bring it to our conscious mind over the months and years that followed in dreams and daydream periods during the day when we're awake. I had a top secret security clearance with the government, and then eventually that lapsed to secret. And I did a bit of time in the reserves, Air Force Reserves, with the Strategic Air Command outside of Fort Worth. I proceeded to do private research in this electrogravitics, thinking that I had cracked the secret of anti-gravity all by myself. And one day I was approached by the government, an emissary from Dr. Edward Teller's office, Dr. James R. Maxfield. When he told me what I'd been doing in my lab and the details of stuff I haven't even written down or told anybody. He knew. He had other people like myself sponsored in this kind of research around the country, and that was the first time that I knew that the U.S. government was actively involved in the control of gravity with electricity.
Stan, if I just interject real quick, someone had asked, what can you say about magnetohydrodynamic plasmas and toroidal structures using zero-point energy?
Well, MHD toroidal plasmas are really a rather large manifestation of what a photon looks like, a light photon. In essence, properly handled, an MHD toroidal coil with another coil combined with it can produce a local gravitic field, anti-gravity, if you wish.
Oh, this is Rob, by the way, Stan. This is my co-host, Rob Woods. He's an experiencer. And we've been doing the podcast for how many years now, Rob?
No, God, it's been a while.
Rob, are you the gorilla there?
That is me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good image. At this point in life, I'm just about 80 now, and I've seen it, done it, figured it all out. Talked to a lot of the principal players, and been one of the principal players in this game, and I understand what it's about, and how it's going to come to a head here shortly. Very shortly, in fact.
What do you mean?
Well, the world government is going to be, at the head of it is going to be a human, but behind him is going to be the fallen ones from the parallel universe, ancient astronauts, if you wish. And they're going to turn over the running of our planet, not to an individual, but to an artificial intelligence.
If it were properly administered by a perfect human being or a perfect being of some sort, would be great. But none of us are perfect, and such a world order is doomed to failure. We can't use a democratic process or a Politburo because it takes too long. It's unwieldy to make quick decisions in today's rapidly changing circumstances. You can't have a dictator because they go crazy. After a period of time they grow old, they get senile, something goes wrong. We don't have any perfect beings, so I suppose we're faced with one of two choices. Either we put our faith in a real extraterrestrial group that comes down and says, we've got all the answers, and we say, we'll trust you, or we turn it over to a computer of our own making, and that can be, in fact, that would be even more disastrous, because computers that would have limited decision-making capability would be prone to psychotic behavior if they had more than one value judgment programmer.
And an individual will be projected as the speaker for it, but the planet is going to be under complete, total dictatorial control, not because the aliens or the fallen ones who are here have forced it on us, but they have said, look, we can stop all the nuclear weapons in the world. We can turn them off, which they have proven a number of times with their craft. And we can help you run your planet, get the proper weather and grow crops and cure cancer. And if you just ditch your governments, and this is going to happen very shortly, existing governments, whether it be dictatorial, communist, or democratic, they will turn the running of the country over to the central world authority that will be set up. And at that time, in that process, we will be seeing what people call full disclosure of the alien presence. And there will be some very impressive credentials, like they'll be able to show a 3D holographic image of the crucifixion of Jesus and say, look, we were back there, he was one of us. And it will be a great deception. You watch the amount of government involvement here in the States is going to increase as far as the disclosure is being made about the truth behind all this. And they won't reveal all the truth, but enough that people will say, I knew that there were UFOs and aliens, blah, blah, blah. Watch the news for this. You're going to see a lot more evidence come forward, a lot more whistleblowers from the military, from the government. The world has to be brought into a one world order to avoid a nuclear war. And ancient aliens have proven many times over our missile facilities here in the north part of the United States that they can turn off missiles that have nuclear warheads on them from not even going down inside the silos. They can park over them and electronically disable these nuclear missiles. So when that is made public, that we need to have help, the people of Earth are going to be worried about having a global nuclear war. And this will be because probably, and this is my guess, over in the Middle East, the Israel, Iran, Arab nations problem is going to be coming to a head when Israel is forced to destroy a bunch of the nuclear missiles that Iran is already shipping into Syria, into Damascus, and around the city of Damascus. And a 1 megaton, maybe 2 megaton nuclear device planted in the right place will destroy all the nuclear missiles that Iran could possibly use against Israel. And the reason they want to do that, of course, is that Damascus is so close to the Golan Heights that you could darn near roll downhill on roller skates and be into Israel. So it's too close to stop. And the Iron Dome isn't going to be able to stop a huge number of proxy missiles sent. They won't know which one's a nuclear, and one with a nuclear bomb may get through and hit Tel Aviv or Haifa, even Jerusalem. So when that happens, when that nuclear device is detonated over in the Middle East, it will put up a panic to all of the nations of the world, because they'll say, well, this is going to, put the cat amongst the pigeons. We're all going to be at each other's throats with nuclear weapons. So this will panic everybody, not so much the governments, because at high levels they know what's going on, but this is going to convince the people of Earth, the common people, to cry out, get rid of our governments and give us this peace under these alien brothers from space or some nonsense like that. Now, ordinarily, you might think, well, Stanley, that might be true, but why are you fighting when they're going to set up this new world order in peace, love, and harmony? In Matthew, Jesus says there's going to be a great deception coming, and they're going to say that I am here in this desert place or some other place, come to me there. Don't believe this great deception, because they're coming to deceive you. And this deception is going to be very convincing. All the TV movies that we've seen, all the theater movies about aliens being good and bad for humanity and whatever, will influence the common psyche of the people of Earth.
Are you saying, Stan, that there are such things as, let's call them flying saucers, but they are built on Earth?
Yes, that doesn't mean that I rule out the possibility of other flying devices or intelligent beings visiting the planet, either from the oceanic bottoms or deeper areas, or from other areas in space. But I am positive that we have the technology, I can even name you the companies and people involved, in making high-speed electric aircraft that do look, strange enough, like a saucer.
The leaders of the Illuminati that I spoke of in the Cosmic Conspiracy, these people that have sold their countries, to the New World Order, in essence, they've betrayed their countries and their leadership. These people are going to be some of the first victims, or prosecuted people, killed people by the New World Order, because the aliens, or the fallen ones coming in to run the Earth, are going to say, look, you've had these rich, wealthy people all over the world that have been cooperating for generations to bring a one world order under their control, like a kingship or a dictatorship. And we're going to get rid of them right now. And it'll go systematically removing all these people that we call the Illuminati, because they are traitors to their own country and could not be trusted in the New World Order to be a part of it, because they might betray them.
Isn't that a good thing, though?
Oh, of course it is. The people that don't know better will say, well, that's great. But this is a diversion to set up a real one world dictatorship. It's like the movie V. This kind of a scenario is going to play out for real. As if we didn't have this warning about the coming deception, we would probably all fall victim to it. Bible believer or not, we'd say, oh, well, look, it's peace, love, and harmony of one world government. Let's go for it. And they're getting rid of the Illuminati. Great stuff. And if you play chess, you know that the move you see may not be the final move. It might be a diversion. This is not a time for you to be an unbeliever and not trust what Jesus has said in the Bible. It is a time to choose which side you want to be on, because if you join the side of the deception, the aliens and all that kind of stuff, it's not going to be a happy time for you.
But now you say that these things could be coming from some parallel reality. If that's true, then some of the religious aspects of this could, they're coming from a parallel reality. Well, what does that have to do with God? What does that have to do with the Bible? I mean, the Bible may be accurate and might be foretelling these temporal events that are happening, and I don't doubt that at all. I believe that retrocausality is absolutely a thing, but why it's not like they're coming straight from hell or from heaven. If they are coming from parallel universes, then they're coming from parallel universes. So you see what I'm saying? I might not be vocalizing this correctly.
I think I hear what you're saying, Chad. Basically, you're saying, why do you think that Christianity is the answer? Why do you think God exists? Is that somewhat what you're aiming at? It is as though, and I'm not speaking for God, but the way I interpret what He has revealed to humanity is that He is creating a lot of free will beings who will have a place in His universe, in the parallel universe, the heavens. I mean, the Bible speaks of at least 3 levels to heavens, which I assume are levels to reality. And he's trying to recruit a bunch of new supporters, because a third of the ones he's got now are in rebellion with Satan against him for control of the universe where they live. If you take off the mysticism, of religious clerics and stuff, how they interpret this, and look at the physics of what has been revealed to us, like, there's a burning craft that comes down, and Ezekiel is by the river Kebar, and he sees this burning chariot come down out of the sky and down close to him, and then hover over the water there and talk to him, and explain things to him. Look at Jesus in the report in the garden after he's risen from the grave and he's gone, and Mary comes running in there and say, where have you taken my master? And then she walks around the garden there close to the grave, and she sees him, a guy standing there. And she says, who are you? Where have you taken my master? He says, Mary, don't you recognize me? It's me, Jesus. So she runs over to grab him and hug him. He says, wait, stop. Don't touch me, for I've not yet ascended. Now, if you look at Star Trek and teleportation, the body becomes energized and it's then pulled up to the ship. Well, here it's probably trans-dimensional. He's being energized to go up, like that burning chariot was so hot when it came down, it had to cool off a bit. When its molecules all adapted to what they call the energy density of our level. And a level below us would be where, demons, spirits, ghosts, whatever live. Their level is cold. Their energy density is much lower than ours. And so that's why when people report a ghost coming into a room, that the room grows cold, is because they're trying to penetrate from that lower energy density.
I keep interrupting. I'm so sorry, Stan.
No, I guess do it. This is a conversation. So
I finally figured out, Mike, why should we worship a trans-dimensional entity that had a hand in genetically creating us? That's the question I wanted to ask.
I'm not being sarcastic. I've learned in my interviewing so many different people under so many circumstances who believe so many different things, a very simple truth, and that is that truth will not change because of who's giving you the information. It's just going to be truth as it is described from that particular perspective. The trick in gathering useful data from so disparate of a pool of information with so many different hypotheses, so many different arguments and counter arguments, that the very last thing that you want to do is challenge somebody's personal belief systems, especially when they're doing you the honor of communicating those belief systems to you in an open and direct fashion. That's one thing that I don't understand about Twitter. When I hear people communicating in a reasonable way with one another, then I hear these people on Spaces sometimes just talk shit and refuse to accept anybody else's viewpoint but their own. It makes me think that nobody could be so willfully obtuse as that. And I know that I just said that people have their own perspectives, but that perspective seems forced to me. Whenever I see somebody using humiliation as a tactic in a community where humiliation has been used against every single one of us incessantly, without any remorse for 85 years, I begin to think of those people not as members of my community, but as agents of the entity that used those tactics to begin with. and are still using them today. That's one of the ways that I suss out shills. Remember, a shill traduces. When Stan is telling me stories about parallel universes and angels and demons and his view of how the end times will play out, I'm listening for the information beneath the veil. And the veil is our personal understanding of reality. And it's very thin for all of us. You can tell what the veil is, where the veil is. But it's used against us, and it shouldn't be. You know, it's like 5th graders making fun of a kid's t-shirt because it's not made by Nike. But it's still a t-shirt, and it's covering the exact same frame as their own. What the fuck is that beeping?
Well, you have to first understand that there's a war in the heavens, and that was not us, but the war is being played out here so that it doesn't damage the property there in the parallel universe where God dwells. He needs to recruit replacements for those who rebelled against him in that order where he was in charge of everything. And God is he wants to be able to be a part of all of the entities that worship him or are with him and work with him, perhaps going to other star systems and whatever in that universe. I don't know how it works, but he can't force people to love him and to trust him. He's got to let them choose of their own free will whether they're going to follow his order, his reality, or Satan's in the rebellion. So we were created to populate the earth with a lot of souls and bodies, and to be exposed to the law.
Are human beings powerless in this war?
No. I know people don't think that much about prayer, but it does work. You talk through the what's called the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit in the English, and you talk and pray things into existence or pray defenses. We are fighting against evil, and those of us who understand this and use it pray against certain evil and evil acts in this world. So we are fighting all the way along, and in the end, we will not have to fight from an earthly body. We will have a new body that's virtually indestructible, and we'll fight in the Armageddon conflict, which will occur in the northern part of Israel in the Lebanon area, and there will be an almighty nuclear war there, and that's where the final defeat of Satan and his rebellion will occur, is in that Armageddon conflict.
Stan, if it's okay with you to open up to questions from the society, if that's...
Sure.
Kimball, Logan, Rob, do you guys want to field this part?
I've got a bunch of questions people have sent in. You want me to just start going on it?
Yeah, take off, man. I'll come in later.
Cool. So what specific frequencies or bandwidth for pulse waves? Do you know about that?
Well, there can be a lot of frequencies for pulse waves. I mean, gravity itself is a vibrating wave. It's the net of divergent, convergent waves around a spin in the plasma of space. So I don't know how to answer that question. It's such a broad question. What kind of pulse wave are we talking about?
It's a good answer in itself. What about advice on linear oscillation control?
Well, I understand the words, but in relation to what? Has someone built some kind of a linear oscillator? What? While we're on the subject here, let me just interrupt here. The pulse waves we're talking about. If you go to my website, standeyo.com, look in the upper right-hand corner under the blue microphone for YouTube. Down underneath there, it's a link to something called Show Images. And if you go to that, that's my page that I update more often than the main website. In there, you will find a series of 9 cells in there where you click on it, which are leading people to understanding the wave nature of gravity and how you can use gravity as an energy source to travel the universe or to supply all your power needs, for electricity and whatever else.
There are many other things that the technology offers. New medicine, which allows limbs to be regrown through electric field processes and plasma. We have devices which can transmit power around the entire planet without wires, so that you can tune to electricity stations like you would tune to a radio station, but it would run your house or your caravan or wherever you are in the bush or the water or the air. We have theory now, but I don't think any practical devices that would allow us to go faster than the speed of light and traverse many light years of distance in a very, very short time, using the same technique that we used to break the sound barrier, where we warp the shock wave. We have devices to make weapons, which is an unfortunate thing. It could be used for other applications, but in transmitting power in little hand or backpack units, or even on tops of the decks of ships that shoot smoke rings or charged particle rings like smoke rings at targets long distances away and strike them with enough force to electrocute or burn the target, depending upon what frequencies are used. There are numerous things. There is even a way to use this process to control mines at a distance of 10 to 15 miles from a central transmitter, where people aren't even aware of it during their sleep, somewhat like post-hypnotic suggestion. This, in the wrong hands, is not a good tool.
But gravity, I tell you on that page there, I even put a basic circuit, outline, an overview of how you make an anti-gravity circuit with two coils that are interlinked on the same inductor core and are fed with pulse DC. Now that's a pulse wave. And you can generate a local gravitic field in these coils around a toroidal coil that has a bite taken out of it. It's what they call, the engineers called a bite, so it can breathe. And I've got pictures of it there, images of that, and images of some of the tests that some of my fellow researchers here in the United States and other countries. You cannot have gravity without spin around, some axis. And the spin creates atoms, planets, galaxies, galactic clusters. Everything that has gravity has a spin moment around it, and that spin moment throws a wave out into the firmament of space, and that wave reflects back. Now, if you've ever been in a boat on a river and cranked it up to like 45 miles an hour and then put your hand over the side, you understand that water becomes hard at that speed. And gravity reacts like it's a wave that is so powerful coming out from a spin like of a planet. It reflects back from space because of the difference in speed. And it's like space becomes hardened to it and reflects the wave back. You get the same effect if you take a bucket of water in the garden, say a 5-gallon bucket, and preferably one you can see through, but if you can't, you just look through the top. You take your water hose and you put it on jet, and you hold the water hose maybe 2 feet back from the nozzle so that you can feel the thrust of that water blowing through the nozzle. It's like a rocket, equal and opposite reaction. Then you guide the tip of your hose to the nozzle. You guide that nozzle down to just touch the surface of the water in that bucket, and just get underneath it maybe 1/8 of an inch, and suddenly the thrust that's been kicking back at you will suck you right down to the bottom of the bucket immediately. And this is because at that speed, the relative speed and the hardness of the bucket will curl back around your nozzle and form a vortex that's a linear straight vortex rather than a spinning one, but it still illustrates what happens when spin occurs in space from differential spin in whatever you're creating. Like in our solar system, the sun is spinning and it forms discrete orbits. It's not random orbits that hang out there. They are formed in the divergent waves from the sun spinning and the reflected or convergent waves coming back, and they form standing waves, which are the orbits of planets. That's why Venus is slowing down now. Then it's anti-directional spin. It's going to turn around and spin the opposite direction shortly. It's because it's been bounced out of an outer orbit down into here in the last 4,000 or 5,000 years. And it's because it cannot stay in a standing wave pattern without following the direction of the flow from the Earth, from the sun, and out into space and back. The spin of these things, the waves going out and the waves coming back, these cause shear motions in these orbits. And they cause the things in these orbits to spin toward the outer edge of the solar system and in the inner edge, of the planet. These are in opposite directions, and they cause a spin, and it collects all of the debris and dust and stuff in the formation of a system into planets and moons and the like. I mean, and this occurs in galaxies and all kinds of formations out there. That the whole universe is dying. It's winding down. All these spin things are distributing their energy into the fluid of space until it comes to a standstill. And even the Bible says this. It says at the end of the 1,000-year reign of the Messiah, when he comes to earth again, that the earth will die. It will pass away in a fervent heat, and the stars and the heavens, everything will be destroyed. But then a new heaven and a new earth will be created out of this. A new injection of spin and a very powerful rush of energy will cause new galaxies, new planets, everything to form. Why? I don't know. It's just what they tell us in the scripture.